Hi everyone, this is Julie with Beading, and in this video I want to talk about the differences between wrapped wire loops and simple wire loops and why you might choose one over another. So often when we're making videos or we're writing up instructions for jewelry projects, we talk about simple wire loops and wrapped wire loops. So let me show you an example of both. So over here we have this pair of earrings right here. And if you look on the side here, you look at this little connector that we've made with the pearls, we have what is called a simple wire loop. Now what's nice about a simple wire loop is you can open it and close it very easily. So what you do is you just go right here and you can open it. You can slip on your jump ring like we've done here, or another loop or a connector or a charm. Very, very easy to work with. So that is called a simple wire loop. Now a wrapped wire loop is very similar, but it is wrapped. So here's an example of a wrapped wire loop, and you see it's got some wrappings. Now there is no way of opening it. So like for this, I like it because the chain is really permanently attached on there. It's not going to slip out, but it does take away the option of opening it and closing it. So why might you choose one over the other? Okay, so well, if you are working with a thin gauge head pin like you have here, this is a 24 gauge, you're going to want to do a wrapped wire loop. Let me show you why. So here we go, we're going to put it on and we're going to make a simple wire loop using a pair of wire looping pliers. You can also use round nose pliers as well. Okay, so here we go, we're just making a little loop, and to make a simple loop all we do is crisscross and cut where it crosses. Okay, and then we just straighten it on up. Okay, so there we have a little simple wire loop. Now the reason I say you don't want to do it with really thin gauge wire like a 24 is it is very, it's not as structurally sound because this can pull out very easily. Let me show you how easy this is to open it. So it's just really wiggly. And I would worry if you have a bunch of items connected to this. Let's go ahead and let's make a wrapped wire loop together now. And I'm going to show you, I'm going to connect the two. All right, so now we're going to do a wrapped wire loop together. So to make a wrapped wire loop, same initial stages. Turn it over, rotate up. And now what we're going to do is we're going to do our wrappings. And you can do just a couple, however many you feel comfortable with. Usually about 2 is normal, 1 to 2. Okay, so we got those little wrappings on there. And now what we're gonna do, trim our tail down here and tuck our end. Okay, so now we're gonna go back to this one we made that was a simple wire loop. Open it up, slip it on, and close it. But because this is 24 gauge wire, I want to show you what could happen. So let's say you had this for a bracelet or something. You had a bunch of these and you keep tugging, you keep tugging, you keep tugging. What happened to my loop? It eventually pulled out of shape because it was a really thin gauge wire. So I would recommend for simple wire loops, you use a heavier gauge. So if you can use like a 21 gauge would be great, or a 20. Even for like a pair of earrings, a 22 is going to be fine. I'm going to show you here, making a simple wire loop with a little heavier gauge wire. And you can actually feel it when you do it. You feel the stiffness to the wire. And we look at this and we're going to make it the same way that we made it with the thinner wire. Heard a little bit more of a snap there, and we're going to straighten it up. But it is much harder to open and close. And so that's going to give you more integrity if you're doing a piece that has more wear and tear on it. So another reason you might choose a simple wire loop over a wrapped wire loop is, let's say you are using eye pins and you want both ends to match. So here's a pair of earrings right here, and you see how they both match. So that's nice if you are using an eye pin and you want just a simple loop because it already starts with a simple loop, and then you want another simple loop to match on the other side. So that might be a reason you want to use a simple wire loop. They're also really great connectors. They're super easy to make. You can hang charms from them. They're really a great staple to jewelry making. Now, why would you choose a wrapped wire loop? You would choose a wrapped wire loop like this because you have something that is going to be swinging. You don't want it to slip out. It gives you much more security. Also, wrapped wire loops have a really nice look to them. They're very finished, they're very polished, and if you do a bunch of them together, they really do create a nice look, a nice aesthetic to your design. So that might be another reason why you choose a wrapped wire loop, is you want it a little bit stronger, you like the look of it, and maybe you're using a little thinner gauge wire as well. So I hope that explained a little bit more about the differences between a simple wire loop and a wrapped wire loop and why you might choose one over the other. We have a lot of other tutorials like this over at beadaholique.com.